So I know this isn't going to be exactly groundbreaking to say, but the prey system kinda sucks. But it doesn't have to. The bones are there. Like, we can see the system has some good things to it, and I think with some tweaks, they could make this a really fun system. But as it stands, I don't really think I've met anyone who really just enjoys it. There are people who are doing it for the rewards, but that doesn't make it a good system, right? People who do it just so they can unlock things but don't have fun doing it, that shouldn't exist. And there are some good rewards. Being able to get hero track gear without having to do delves or mythics, that is appealing to some people. So I want the system to stay, I want the system to be evergreen, and I want it to be improved. I just don't want it to stay in its current form. And I understand some of the fault lies in with us, the players, that when we saw the Prey first announcement, our imaginations ran wild. We had thoughts about, oh, what could this be? I want it to look like this, I want it to be this. And then when we actually played it, it didn't meet what we thought it would be, and that's not fully Blizzard's fault, but I do feel like they really dropped the ball on what this is, so let's talk about it. I think most of us thought this was going to be some sort of like hunting thing where, the hunter becomes the hunted, where it's going to be a back and forth, this epic tug of war. It was going to be a really interesting struggle, and what it actually is you fly out to the zone, you disarm traps for 5 minutes, then you go beat the boss. And then you were supposed to also have like all these nightmare affixes that were supposed to change the ebb and flow of the battle. They were going to be these epic things to be overcome. And what are they? Well, they ambush you every 30 seconds and deal a little bit of damage. And then the guy annoyingly every 30 seconds tells you that you have to take out a critter or you instantly die and restart. That's horribly unengaging and not fun. And then every minute or so, a random thing will spawn that you have to cast an interrupt on, and then it goes away forever. That little red thing right there, like, oh no, it's coming to get me. Okay, I interrupt it. Problem solved. Like that's not engaging. That's not fun. And then when you do finally get to the final battle, this is my experience as a blood DK, which granted might be a little bit cheating since blood DKs are basically unkillable, but you fight for a minute, 2 minutes maybe, you pop all your cooldowns, you avoid the various puddles it throws on the ground because it wouldn't be a World of Warcraft fight if it didn't throw 50,000 puddles all over the ground, and then you go back to town and you do the next one. And you rinse and repeat that for, 12 times a week to get your maximum bonus, but really you only need to do 4 to get like the big bonuses. And most people I know have already given up on this system entirely, like the rewards just aren't there. And honestly, that's the biggest sin of all with this, is the rewards are just horrible. You get ugly armor that I don't think anyone is ever going to wear. The Prey Seeker armor is hideous, and there's a couple different forms of it, but they're all terrible. You can get housing items, but most of the housing items are just these like gaudy glowing prey statue busts I don't think anyone's really going to use. There's a couple mounts and pets, but since battle pets really aren't a thing anymore, that's not all that enticing. And the mounts are cool, but there's like, 1,000, 2,000 mounts in the game already, so what are the chances that the mount that drops from this is going to be someone's favorite? Probably pretty low. So what you have at the end of the day is a tedious system that is not engaging, is boring with terrible rewards, and that's a recipe for no one cares about this system. So let's fix it. The first step, and I know people are going to hate this, but I'm going to say it, we need to make it so disarming traps isn't the fastest, most effective way to do this anymore. As we all know, given the opportunity, players will optimize the fun out of everything, so given that the traps are the fastest way to get done with this, having that available means that most people are going to take that 9 times out of 10, which means they're not going to do the world quests, they're not going to engage in other things, and that's just going to continue to be a problem until they fix the infinite XP from traps. Instead, I'd like to see XP given for more things, or at least a boost to it for like mining, fishing, skinning, interacting in the zone, doing regular quests that you may have skipped, exploration, things like that. I think would be a lot more rewarding, and people would actually then get to do the zones, and they could have a lot of fun with this. Like, they can make it so you have to actually track the creature. I would be so happy if this was actually like a hunt. Imagine this, rather than the system we have now, you engage in the hunt against an enemy, and you're told you don't know anything about this enemy, so you have to learn from them. So you've got to find them out in the wild, you've got to observe them, you've got to ambush them, you've got to find their weaknesses. Maybe you need to go pick some berries to make a poison that will make them weak, and that removes a couple of their abilities or lowers their damage. Maybe you can find out what they like to do and then set traps there so that when you find them have that final engagement, they have lower HP. Actually treating it like you're hunting something, like a predator, alien versus predator situation, right? Like, you're learning about them, you're learning their strengths, you're learning their weaknesses, and the things that you're doing are actually impacting that final battle. So, like, having the option of saying, you know what, I don't want to do any of that, I just want to go do some world quests and engage the final battle at full difficulty, that's perfectly possible, and you can do that. But you can also spend the time to find their tracks, you can find the time to make a poison to lower their HP, you can find the time to lower their maximum HP due to finding traps or lowering their damage, or even make whole abilities unavailable, like if they're a caster, maybe stealing their wand or breaking their staff or something so they don't have an ability at the final confrontation. It would really allow you to customize your difficulty and give you a lot more engagement. I think we also need to ditch the whole kill for me thing. I don't even know where to put this one on there. It's so annoying, and I've never met anyone. I've read the forums, I've been going on to the WoW Reddit, seeing people's feedback, putting it together for this video. Not a single person out there says, wow, that's so fun that I'll be randomly flying and then I'll have to land and stab a critter and then fly back into the air. It's tedious, it's unfun, and I can skip it because, again, I'm on blood DK, so it won't actually kill me, so, I don't have to engage in that mechanic at all, which is terrible game design that you can just ignore a mechanic. But also for other people who can't, it means that you die, and as far as I understand, because I haven't actually died yet, but people have said that if you die, the whole prey hunt starts over on nightmare mode, and that's just awful, right? Like, we're talking about how tedious this system is and how unengaging it is, and spending 5-10 minutes and then having to restart that just feels terrible. Instead, if they want to make it timed, or they want to keep the pressure on you to keep going and going and going and moving forward, they can do other things. Like, we already have timers in the game, right? You do the races, and you've got like a silver medal, a gold medal. They could do something like that, have like a leaderboard for hunts for the time of the week or something of that nature. If they made this about time, I think having a leaderboard would be a great way to increase that pressure without having this tedium and unfunness, as well as making it optional for people who don't want to engage in that system. If they want it to be an anti-AFK thing, so you can't just like set it and forget it, which I think is terrible. It's an MMO and it's more casual on the MMO front. Like, we should be able to AFK if we desperately need to, but if their whole thing is they don't want you to be able to AFK, okay, well then make a stacking debuff that when you're standing still you start to take more damage, but as soon as you move it goes away. There, now you have an anti-AFK mechanic that's not nearly as annoying as this kill a random critter every 20 seconds sort of thing. We need another difficulty. This content is not difficult, and I understand that it's not supposed to be mythic rating, this is supposed to be on tier with delves, but the fact that, like, it's in the first week I was doing nightmare runs and I was completely invulnerable with no risk of dying means that for the rest of the season everyone's going to overpower this, and it's just going to be another, okay, I gotta go do this tedious thing. It's not fun to completely stomp all the content if you want that challenge there. So how do we introduce a challenge mode? I think that they should do like the challenge modes of Pandaria, where you have a set like eye level where it lowers you down to a fixed eye level, that way you can't over gear it. Now, I know it's difficult to balance content for healers, tanks, and DPS, because obviously as a tank I can take a lot more damage, DPS can DPS faster than me, it's really hard to balance everything for everything. So I do think that they should be different modes. For if you're doing it in tank mode, it should have different abilities. If you're doing it in DPS mode, it should have different abilities to allow for a little bit of scaling difficulty, because again, this content in the first week was basically negligible, easy, and we've got, what, another 6 months of this content, so we're already easy week 1. That's a problem. It's just going to be tedious. We need something that keeps it engaging and fun, and having a gear cap or a set to certain specs means that they can balance it around that, and they can actually make it a challenge each week. Especially if you combine that with the leaderboard, having everyone on the same level means that leaderboard will mean a whole lot more to people. And the final thing you can do, and this is true for any WoW content, is make the rewards better. It doesn't matter how bad your content is, people will do it if they want the reward. We learned this during the Twilight Invasion pre-patch event, where you had to play 100 games of tic-tac-toe and win to get a secret hidden achievement. People did that. It was terrible, it was boring, but a ton of people did that because they want the achievement, they want the reward. So if we put better rewards in here, more people would engage in the system. I'm talking transmog that people actually want, maybe some cool weapon enchants. Like, we have all this vampire, sanguine, blood themed things. Like, there's clearly a motif you could go here. So putting better gear, better mounts, better pets, all that sort of thing in here means more people would engage in it. I think we have a lot more housing items too, more like blood-themed housing items or vampire-themed housing items means a lot more people would be prone to playing with this. As it is, I think the system is dead on arrival, and if they don't make some changes, I don't think it's going to make it to the next expansion, and we want it to. We want this to be evergreen content. We want this to be something that goes forward. I love the idea of the prey system, and I want it to be available to everyone. I want more world content. I want more options other than raiding, but in its current state, it's just not good. Alright, with that rant out of the way, let me know in the comments down below what you would do to fix the prey system. If you like my ideas, tell me. If you don't like my ideas, also tell me. As always, thank you for watching, and have a blessed day.